Should you let a buyer move in before closing? Louisville sellers need to watch this video. Hi, I'm David Hiddle, your real estate specialist doing business at Shop Kentucky Homes LLC with United Real Estate Louisville. And if you are selling a home in the Louisville area and a buyer asks, can we move in before we close? I want you to slow down, because what sounds like a simple favor can quickly turn into one of the biggest legal and financial risks that a seller can take. This is called early possession, and it's something every seller needs to understand before they say yes. So in this video, I'm going to explain what early possession really means, why buyers ask for it, the risk that most sellers don't expect, and how to protect yourself if you ever consider allowing it. So let's break it down. What is early possession? Well, early possession happens when the buyer moves into the home before the sale officially closes. That means the buyer does not legally own the home yet. The seller still owns the home, but the buyer is already living in it. This usually comes up when the buyer's lease is ending, they are relocating from out of town, or the closing date gets delayed, but the buyer already had and already made moving plans. On the surface, it sounds reasonable, but legally, this can change everything. So why early possession is very risky for sellers. Here's the most important thing sellers need to understand. Until the sale closes, you still own the home, which means you are still responsible for the property, your insurance is still responsible for the property, and you are legally the landlord. Even though the buyer plans to purchase the home, they are technically a tenant until the closing occurs. And that creates several risks for sellers. So what could go wrong? Here are just a few scenarios that I have seen in real life. Number one, the deal gets delayed. Now the buyer is living in your home longer than expected before actually owning it. Two, the deal falls apart. Now you have a tenant in your home who no longer even plans to buy your home. There's damage to the property. Number three, who pays? There's an accident or an injury in the home. Whose insurance covers that? There's now a disagreement about when the buyer has to leave. And now you are dealing with landlord-tenant laws instead of a real estate contract. These situations can become complicated very fast. So the biggest risk that sellers don't even think about, this one may surprise a lot of people. If the buyer moves in early and the deal does not close, you may have to formally evict the buyers. Even though they were supposed to buy the house, even though there was a sales contract, even though it was only supposed to be temporary, once someone is living in your home, landlord-tenant rules may apply. An eviction can take weeks, months, or years. That is one of the worst case scenarios for a seller. So when does early possession even make sense? I'm not saying that all early possession is always a bad idea. In some rare situations, it can work, especially when the buyer is extremely well qualified, financing has already been fully approved, closing is only delayed a few days, and there are strong legal protections in place for both the buyer and the seller. But it should never be a casual thing. So how can sellers protect themselves? If a seller ever allows early possession, there should always be written an early possession agreement. There should also be a daily rental amount that is provided, a security deposit kept in escrow, proof of renter's insurance from the buyer, a firm move out and closing deadline, and clear reasonability or clear responsibility for utilities and maintenance. In many cases, I would also recommend holding funds in escrow, charging a daily penalty if closing is delayed, and limiting early possession to only a few days. This is not something I recommend lightly. Every situation needs to be reviewed very carefully. So early possession may seem like a small favor, but legally and financially, it's one of the biggest risks a seller can take during a real estate transaction. So if you are selling a home in the Louisville area and a buyer asks to move in before closing, make sure that you fully understand the risks and your protections before you say yes. I am David Hiddle, your real estate specialist doing business as Shop Kentucky Homes LLC with United Real Estate Louisville, and I will see you in my next video.